No, I want to keep it on page 16. Hey folks, Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO. I better watch out, I'm bouncing this table today. Welcome to Breakfast with Troy. We are at the Maple Street Biscuit Company here in Miramar Beach, Florida. It's on the Emerald Coast. We're on the Gulf Coast side. If you have never been to Destin, South Walton, 30A, you have no clue what you're missing. We're an outer barrier island. We're on a chain of islands actually. We're about I think at the far tip where we live, we're about 3 miles out across the bridge. It's a 3-mile bridge to the Destin, Sandestin, Miramar Beach area. Then when you go closer to Panama City, it's about, probably quarter of a mile across down there, right before you get to Panama City Beach and all that great stuff. So just a phenomenal place to come and visit. Matter of fact, we've got a lot of great networkers who either have homes here or have retired here. It's not a place where a lot of people can just come and visit, especially in the summertime. It's too expensive. Wintertime, people have school and stuff, so it's become a known place for gathering privately. If you want to have a mastermind, if you want to do some stuff, it's just a phenomenal place. A lot of great companies have launched out of here. Changes International was out of here. ABC, America's Best Choice, was out of here. Phoenix Cookie, Pro Step. The list just keeps going on and on. It's just a great place to hang out. I want to thank all of our supporters today, but Maple Street especially. They have been our main sponsor for this show. Just love the fact that they let me come in here, let me do this show. We've been able to really give away things from Maple Street to folks that are in the local community. So, this has been our first full week. We had a great time. We had the hurricane over on the East Coast. My daughter Tessa and her husband and new baby are going through that right now in North Carolina, but it's been a great week. Freddie Sheets, who it's healing now, but you can see this newest piece that he did on my arm. Phenomenal. He's got brand new shirts on. You can go to allenscooling.com, get the brand new shirts, or go in and visit Freddie. It's the off season now, so he's got time to really do some great work if you're down here on the Emerald Coast. I've still got to go in and get some the eagle put on the lower side. And I had somebody the other day say, Troy, why all the tattoos? Well, a couple of them were cover-ups, but it's at my age, I can just pretty much do what I want. And part of telling my story is now on my arms, to be honest. My left arm is all about the love for my wife, our story. My right arm is all the patriotic side of what my life entails. And that's just part of it. There are tattoos that nobody gets to see my back. Freddie started working on my back. It's got tempered night in custom fonts across the top, and then we'll be putting a night down the back eventually. So everyone has a difference. And now you may say, Troy, why are you going in so deep into your tattoos? It's because everyone does have a story, and I think sometimes we forget about the backstory. All we do is we see what's out front. When I was sitting on a witness chair last month as an expert witness in a divorce case, looking back through the transcripts of some of the stuff that was written, the opposing attorney, because she assumed some things about my appearance, she assumed some things based on the way I presented myself in the deposition. She thought when I was on stand that it would be the exact same way, and it wasn't. The way I present myself in a courtroom is substantially different than the way I would present myself on a podcast, on a TV show, or just sitting around in a deposition, to be quite honest. And as she started bringing up my backstory, she thought some of my backstory might be embarrassing. And instead, she realized that I had embraced everything that I've gone through. When you look at a person's background, you start to realize that there are things that make a man or a woman who they are today. When I look back through my adolescent years, to my teen years, to my young adult years, to that middle of the road when we were building the business to where we are today, you realize that each step has helped to create the man who I am, the wife that I'm married to, the family that we have. You know, not everyone has had the issues, has the challenges, or had the successes. So when you're looking at what somebody is doing on the internet, when you see their personality, if you don't know their backstory, before you take your observations and turn those into judgments or opinions, get to know what that backstory is. Get to know why they're so passionate about some things and let other things fly. Those are the keys to building, I think, relationships, really pushing forward, really going into things. Today, and I rabbit trail sometimes too. I don't do that on the stand, and I think she thought I would, because I definitely rabbit trailed during that deposition. I want to look at what's the number one KPI, key performance indicator of leadership. This is something that's important, and I bring this up because one of the things that I've noticed in social media, I've noticed it in marketing across the board, I've noticed it in sales to a certain degree, definitely see it in churches, religious organizations. People tend to look at two items as KPIs that don't really play into it. It would play into it some from an influencing standpoint, if somebody's an influencer, but not truly a leader. And John Maxwell, who may be the number one leadership coach, advisor, I don't know what John calls himself today, but he's probably the number one expert on leadership. And with him, leadership is a verb, it's an action, it's something that you're doing. It's not just something that you obtain. But he's got 5 levels of leadership that's out there, with significance being at number 1 and really follower being at the bottom. And in between is where we start to move up. And the two areas that I see people use as KPIs, which I think are irrelevant, is a rank or a title, and then how many followers, friends, likes do they have. That's how people decide, oh, that's a leader, that's somebody I want to follow. Hey, I'm gonna call them because they got 80 million likes, or they have 80 million followers, or they got all kinds of hearts. You know, their views on their videos are just awesome, so I'm gonna follow them. Oh my gosh, they're the number one income earner in my business. They're 3 ranks from the top. And we look at that, and that intrigues us. And the question is, why? Why do we see that as an indicator? Number one is in our real day-to-day grind, going from school to college to a career, we're taught all about ranks. In the military, we're taught all about ranks. In religious organizations, we're taught all about ranks. And the reason being is because hierarchy is important. Hierarchy is what allows us to grow as individuals. We have to have an authority. We have to have somebody we look up to. Without some type of boundary, without a rank, if you will, without authority that's there, then everybody just be running around with chickens with their head cut off. And so rank is there for that authority. Who am I going to look up to? But a rank doesn't mean that person has thoroughly earned some type of a leadership. That doesn't mean that they are leading in a way that's going to change anything at all. Sometimes you get leaders, and I mentioned this the other day in passing. You get leaders like an Adolf Hitler. Okay, Adolf Hitler led the Gestapo. He led the German army. He led the political chaos of Germany. There were people at the time that saw him as the great savior of Germany. He rallied all of the young kids. He pushed forward. He moved. When you look at Adolf Hitler, the majority of us would not call Adolf Hitler a great leader. But yet when you study leadership, you see that, well, wait a minute. He accomplished some of the same things that my mom accomplished, that my teachers accomplished, that my pastor accomplished. He grew a great organization. People were following him to their death. But then you look at the fact that what chaos did he leave in that path? He changed world history not for the positive but for the negative. I guess the same thing could be said in the 21st century of a Bin Laden. Bin Laden was seen as a great leader to certain people based on his followers. See where I'm going with this? Followers are not a good KPI. Rank isn't a good KPI. So what is a really, really solid KPI? What is that number one key performance indicator to show that someone truly is a great leader? How many other leaders have they developed who are out there doing something, out there changing something to the positive? How many of those leaders have gone on to create other leaders? It's what my friend Brian Underwood calls a multiplier. See, if you're not multiplying, if you're not out there developing other leaders who are going to go on to accomplish something on their own, then what good are you? We do see this a lot of times in sports. We look at athletes and we see the athlete on the field and we say, oh my gosh, man, look at that. He's leading. There's Peyton. There's Lynn Dawson. I'm going to give away my age. There's all these guys that are out here. They're just cranking. They're going. Look what they're doing. But when you look at it, they're usually that second generation leader. And that's pretty wild. Rod Smith, who I would call an acquaintance. We're friends. I got his phone. I could text him. I could do whatever. He was one of the greatest players of the Denver Broncos. And he is someone that I would say has proven his leadership on and off the field. He proved his leadership there in the actual team. Then he went on to be a successful businessman and raise up other successful businessmen and women. That is leadership. When you're taking what you have learned and you're passing it on, it creates a ripple effect, if you will. Because see, a lot of times great leaders aren't known as great leaders until they stop leading. That's something a lot of times people don't realize, and that's the way, when you look at history, we define what a great leader is versus what a great leader isn't. So before you get wrapped up, excuse me, in what a person is doing, before you get wrapped up in hiring someone, this is another key factor here. Just because someone has 80 million clicks on an Instagram picture doesn't mean that they're an expert at Instagram. They could be an expert at buying a bunch of clicks. There's a lot of different apps that you can hang with. Just because they have 1.2 million followers on a Facebook page doesn't mean that they know social media. Look at engagements, look at what they're coaching on, look at how they lead, look at the ripple effect that they have in others. See what others are saying about the leader. When you hear what others are saying, you start to hear, wow, that's some powerful stuff. My leader said this. I heard this from so-and-so. I've applied this to my life. Those are key performance indicators. What leader is developing other leaders? And here's a misnomer. It could just be a myth, I guess, inside of the direct marketing, direct sales world. We've heard throughout the years the word duplication. I want you to duplicate what I'm doing. I think a lot of times the word duplication could be taken out, and in place of it we could put the word follow. I want you to follow what I'm doing, because when you actually watch true duplication, you will see somebody come up in a company, a sales organization of some kind. They watch what the leader's doing, they write it down, they put that system into play, and they start doing it over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, when they feel confident with that, they've added a couple of other things. What is that? That's leadership. That's truly, I'm duplicating what you did and I'm adding to it. And then all of a sudden they take off and they go do their own thing. They've got their own systems, they've got their own wording, they're building something. And what happens? The first guy or the gal gets all in a pissy mood. Oh my gosh, they're not paying attention. They're not a team player. Da. Seriously? Because if the key component indicator is building up other leaders, then what you want to do is, like an eagle, you want to push them out of the nest and let them fly. If that person is saying, look, I've got something, this fits, I've got a crew over here, they're following me, this fits for what we're doing, boom, you rock it out and you go with it. You don't hamstring them, you don't tell them to follow you. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely boundaries and things and stuff like that, but I'm talking about just the leadership. When somebody's a true leader and they're raising up other leaders, they want those leaders to go. I've got a couple of great leaders that over the years I've been able to mentor. They started with me in my first sales organizations. I took them as far as I could go. They left the nest and they've gone on to do so many great things that are out there. When I ran ProStep, I was able to mentor and be a part of so many great leaders' lives that are out there just killing it today. And that's important, because it's like I can look over there and say, man, that gal's doing it. That guy's doing it. That's leadership, guys. So the next time that you fall into that trap of saying, okay, rank, title, ooh, look how many followers they have, look where they're at in my comp plan, don't use that. Matter of fact, how many times have you seen somebody rank to the top of a comp plan and then disappear, fall away? Another thing that a lot of people don't know is so many times in sales and in marketing, you see the rank achieved. They did that one time. Their paid ads rank is a whole lot lower than that, and people don't show that. So follow that key component. Follow that KPI. Who is developing other leaders? Who can you start tracking back and see where they're at and where they've gone? That's the key. And this next gentleman that I'm going to talk about is one of those individuals. He is a leader. This is Brian Crother's brand new book that just came out, Untrapped Freedom Manifesto. Becoming an entrepreneur to escape the grind and find freedom and happiness. Here's one of the things I like about Brian. Brian and I have met a couple of times, had dinner at some events. I've met his family. He's the real deal. Brian's not paying me to talk about his book. He sent this to me for free. I've been listening to the Audible version of it. Phenomenal. But he walks his walk. He started earning a few decades ago and literally has built a net worth, diversified into real estate, diversified into investments, still runs a great sales organization. And part of his purpose in life is to give back to others. And that's what he's done in this book. He shares his life story. He shares what he's learned from mentors of his own. I'm gonna pull something from chapter, or not. Well, I guess I don't know what chapter it is. It's on page 69 because it's very important. It's something that's powerful to me. And he titled this one, 3 Steps to Becoming an Entrepreneur. Or 3 paths, not steps, 3 paths to becoming an entrepreneur. He said the first one is to invent something, and I pondered on that. Literally on the audio version, I kept flipping it back 15 seconds, just to really think through, is that truly an entrepreneurial path? And when I look at all of the inventions that are out there, when I look at trademarks that are owned and leased to others, when I look at the due diligence that people put in. Then I went over to the patent office in the United States and started looking at how many patents are out there. You start to realize that truly is a powerful way to become an entrepreneur. Matter of fact, I've got a client and they own several patents, and now even though they've got a brand and they're building out their brand and great, I don't know, 300-400 million a year in sales, they're licensing out their patents now to other people. And I thought, whoa, great point, Brian. I hadn't looked at it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. That's one of these things you look at and think, that guy's just a great, smart guy. Look at Edison and these guys, Ford, But then he said the second option, and this is one that I think fits most of us today, is you can buy a franchise. When I started looking at this, one of the things we're going to do is we're publishing a report of franchises that you can do from home. And I started looking at the price of franchises. Nowadays, just about anybody that is serious about being an entrepreneur can go out and get a franchise. I mean, some of them cost a few $1,000s, some of them cost millions of dollars, McDonald's and all those, but there seems to be a franchise. And I looked at this and thought, okay, this could be very good. A franchise is that second path that, you're leaving your career, but you want a little bit of boundaries. You want guidance. You want a system that's in place. Good friend of mine, a client here in Destin, Michael Black, owns a couple of franchises that we've worked with him on. Loves the franchise business and still has his full-time career. These are side gigs, if you will. So I thought, man, Brian's hit on something here. But then he went on, and this is the one that has made him, well, given him a net worth of millions. And he said the third, and what I feel to be the absolute best option, is the home-based marketing business. Now, what I want to key in on here is he didn't say the home-based sales business, the home-based distributor business. He didn't say MLM, network marketing, party plan, all that. Home-based marketing business. I believe this is one of the reasons that Brian will be speaking over at the European, I forget the name of it, Ted Knighton and his beautiful wife, Nina, puts this on. It's one of the biggest events in Europe for direct sales for home-based business. He's speaking there because what he hit on here is so perfect. Home-based marketing business, because you can start it as a side hustle, part-time. You can learn. Your first products or your first services may not even be the right ones for you. You may find out that you work better in one type of a compensation structure than another. You'll find out that a certain business fits better into your own lifestyle because of what you do. And Brian touches on this in such a big way in this book. And let me, matter of fact, while I'm sitting here, let me just share some of the powerful stuff you're going to learn. And I'm telling you, you need to go buy his book. Again, look, guys, one of the things I wanted to do when we put this show together this time was not have to worry about people paying us to do a show. When the website goes live, whereas we're going to have paid advertisers on there, all of our posts, everything that we do is what we feel. It's our opinions. Okay, we've got compliance people, I got marketing people, we got PR people. It's going to be phenomenal. But they're all freelance doing their own thing. It's a side hustle for them too. Okay, but what he's written in this book is stuff that I've learned for years and years and years, and he's put it in such an easy way to understand, and he's still building. I'm not. We're building companies. We're building our own brand. He's actually helping build organizations. Listen to this. This is some powerful stuff here. The power of part-time. Most people think you've got to jump into something full-time, and man, I didn't. Matter of fact, we used to teach people. I still teach business owners. That's just at a different scale. But we tell people, don't go part-time. Don't go full-time until you're earning $10,000 a month, and you've done that 6 months in a row, and you've got 6 months of an emergency stash put away for your living expenses. Otherwise, don't jump into this crap. Don't be doing all that. 3 forms of income. He pushes that one real big. I just talked about the 3 paths of becoming an entrepreneur. Reasons people don't succeed. I'm going to touch on this in a separate show, because just this chapter alone can open your mind to some things, can open your thought process, and maybe push back some of the limiting beliefs that you've got on there. The key to success, finding good mentors. That is one. I'm not going to go through all these because I don't want to keep you. A lot of you got to get to work. Finding the right mentors is key. I've had mentors in every area of my life. Husband, dad, businessman, bounty hunter, bail bondsman, insurance, investments, network marketing, accounting, legal. There's nothing that we haven't had mentors on that worked with us. And then some of them we've hired, some of them we've used ourselves still personally. Probably my number one mentor to this day, Tom Haupt. He now lives over in Australia. He was my personal counselor. He helped me go through so many limiting beliefs, break through crap that I had in my life from my childhood, from my early years, and then be able to just grow our business like crazy. Tom is just phenomenal. Now he's helping people in Australia, over in the Asian Pacific Rim, so it's a beautiful thing. You have to find the right mentor. And maybe you don't call them mentors. Maybe you call them sages, guides. Maybe you call them coaches, teachers, leaders. Maybe just call them your best friend. I don't care what you call them. This is what you have to do if you want to build it, if you want to do it right. So Guys, I'm going to let you go. It's been great. Tomorrow we'll do the news and review as we do on Saturday mornings. Some great stuff's been taking place this week. I think you guys are going to love it on some of the stuff that we're going to be sharing with you guys. Stay humble, stay strong, and remember, you've been listening to the voice of Main Street America.